Onboarding has been an ever popular topic when it comes to game design, and there are still a few genres that tend to struggle with it. And for today's critical thought, we're going to discuss my experience trying to learn a fighting game and why there's still so many issues from a new player's perspective on a very old genre. It's always fascinating when I write my books on different genres in the deep dive series to look at how the genre's popularity and relevancy waxes and wanes over the years. Every genre has kind of these moments in the sun and moments when they dip, from platformers to strategy to my next one on adventure. And the fighting genre has had a very interesting history. It blew up during the peak of the arcade market, with people flocking to arcades to beat their friends and rivals and just random people. When the arcade industry kind of soft crashed in the 2000s here in the United States, not abroad, there had to be a way to reinvent it. So we saw more arcade fighters making console ports, be it Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and so on. But without having a stable internet connection, again, we're talking early 2000s, it kind of fell out of public eye. Now, some games managed to do their own thing. Mortal Kombat kind of reinvented itself in the 2000s, thanks to focusing a lot on single-player content, be Crypt, that's with a K, and other features that go beyond just be ranked matches or 1v1 play. And in the 2010s, there was this period where it was looking like fighting games were trying to kind of push into the same space of notoriety and mainstream approval that we saw kind of the peak during the strategy era, when StarCraft 1 and 2 kind of dominated the scenes. And the fighting game designers were trying to do more things again to make it more appealing. Once again, with NetherRealm, they had more like customizable abilities with, I think it was MK910, Injustice 2. We saw this with the incredibly popular Dragon Ball FighterZ. We have now a new Marvel, the Token one. And of course, Capcom has been bringing back a lot of their classic ones, as we talked about a few months ago, with everyone getting excited about being able to play Marvel vs. Capcom again. And people were generally excited to get back into fighting games. And then it just kind of reverted back to the way it was. There are people who watch tons and tons of fighting games. There's people who only watch EVO. But the number of people who play fighting games is far smaller than the people who are actually watching. And the FGC and fighting games as a genre have had this uphill battle in terms of getting new people into it. And there's kind of an interesting parallel between the fighting game genre and the adventure genre. Both have had this kind of identity crisis going with trying to appeal to a larger market while still being fun and enjoyable by its core fans. The adventure genre had kind of this like weird period where you either win with old story with very little puzzles, or just mind-numbing puzzles so complicated no one could figure them out. And it still is kind of in that very weird place of trying to appeal to someone who's never played an adventure game. And there's another genre that's also a part of this that we'll come back to in a few minutes. But no matter how many fighting games we've seen, no matter how much they've improved and gotten more graphically awesome, it still is horrible to try and play these for the first time. And we're going to be doing something a little bit differently here. I'm going to be rewatching my play of Street Fighter 6 for the first time. I want to talk about some of the parts that really frustrated me and what is missing from a new player's perspective when it comes to trying to learn a genre like this. So, once we began our play, I found where the tutorial was through the fighting grounds. And we start with this screen, which this is really great. I like that there are the two different control styles. I can see why it's such a polarizing feature among fighting game purists. I'm going modern and I'm never going to look into classic because that is just beyond what I can do. And I like that it does show you the differences between these two features there. Now, this tutorial is very much akin to what we see from a lot of fighting games. That we're going to be going through the bare minimum basics. Learn how to walk. You learn how to jump, block. What is an attack? What is a special? Okay, this is again what we see in many different fighting games. What we're lacking in this respect is, what does this mean in practice? This is where a lot of fighting games and other genres tend to fail. Telling me to press X, A, B, whatever, that's great. What does this mean come game time? Because it's very easy to do this when Ryu is just standing there doing nothing, or doing a heavily telegraphed attack. But when it's actually time to play, all of this is just button pressing, or button inputs. We're going to fast forward a little bit here. I do like that it teaches you the different super arts and stuff like that, but there is a very noticeable misstep here. I'm going to try and get to the very end of our play. So we end the tutorial, and I managed to beat the very basic AI, so good for me. But the problem is that it never really went into anything considered advanced. What do the different attacks do? How do I perform kind of EX moves? I did not see any of that on here. And that is a very big problem. It could be hidden somewhere in the menus themselves. But again, as a new player, this needs to be made very apparent. I don't know where to look for all this stuff. Why would I know how to do it? This is my first time playing a fighting game. And here's something that I just found very confusing. I'm going to pause here. So we finished the tutorial, this screen pops up again, and I'm just wondering, is this the same thing that we did? It's the exact same screen that was copied and pasted a few minutes ago. So is this supposed to be more tutorial? I don't know. Is this where they actually teach you these features? Because if it is, it needs to be made more apparent. I don't know why they just repeated the same screen. And if this is where features like how the auto combos work, how EX moves work, well, I skipped it because I didn't know what I was looking at. And then came the time to actually go into RAM. Well, I'll fast forward to a little bit of this menu in here. But once again, after I was finished with that, I don't know where to go to actually start learning this. Do I jump into rank? Do I do a story mode? Do I do arcade? And I want to also talk about something else that's very important when it comes to the onboarding. Limiting what the player can see and access when they're learning. Now my camera is blocking the rest of this, but this screen, what am I looking at as a new player? Do I want to play as guy, girl, 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 guy, girl, guy, girl, green guy, 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 girl? I don't know, is it one of these characters easier to learn? Is there another character that's harder to learn? What do I do as a new player in terms of even where to begin to start using all those lessons that we just went over? And this screen right here, this is nothing. This is worthless to me. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at. I just finished learning how to press X, A, Y, B. What does all this mean? What are these moves? How do I apply them? What is this character? There's nothing here in terms of a kind of a bullet point or a new player's perspective on this. And this is, again, like kind of copy and pasted from many manuals of fighting games back in the day. We're just going to give you a command sheet. Okay, what does this mean? And I think there should probably be a level below beginner for someone who has, again, no knowledge when it comes to any of this stuff. I still, at this point, don't know what an auto combo is. I don't know what an EX is. And I'm going to show you the moment where I actually figured that out. But first, we had to do our little bit of ranked play. And I went to the character guide to see maybe this is where I can learn a little bit more about these characters. And once again, you're going to see a big problem. So I clicked on Marisa here, and this pops up as my very first introduction to her. Okay, telling me about these moves, about chaining attacks. I can't control anything. Why am I not being able to control this character? Why is the game not giving me information and letting me make use of it at the same time? This is one of the worst things you can do when it comes to onboarding, because you don't want the player to be flip-flopping between multiple pages, multiple screens, whatever. And this is not really a guide to this character, because I'm not really controlling it. It's not even telling me what the button is to use it. I had to click on the try that option, but you should be popping it up while you're explaining it to the player. Because now now that I know this move, what does it all mean? That text is gone. And again, you're showing me things, I don't know what I'm looking at. We have overdrive and armor effect, okay. Still don't know what any of this means or anything that what it's doing. And I just quit because what am I learning besides just watching a video of someone play this game better than me? So I did hop into rank, and then I want to fast forward a little bit more, because after we were done with the rank matches, there we go. So I got this load up, the kind of in-game tutorial or like practice mode. This right here, to a new player, is garbage. I have no idea what I'm looking at. I don't know what any of this stuff means. Again, it's under the assumption that a player knows what this stuff is or what they're looking at. I don't know. I never played Street Fighter. For expert players, they probably are looking at this and understand exactly what's happening. But again, for someone new, where do they go to learn the fundamentals of playing this game? I'm mashing buttons right now. I don't know what I'm doing. Is there someplace else to learn the more exact details of these characters? Again, as a new player, I've been given nothing. I can mess with things in the settings. Okay, that's great. If I'm new, how do I know what to change it to? And as I said earlier, this is where we see a very similar parallel to strategy games. The 4X genre is infamous for having very similar tutorials and onboarding. Teach me to push a button. Teach me how to walk. Okay? What does this mean in the game itself? Just telling the player what commands are means nothing in terms of understanding how they can be applied. And it's why, again, like when we look at some of the best tutorials for strategy games, they're typically Let's Plays that talk about the process and what you should be focusing on. For me, I'm just pushing random buttons and stuff is happening. Why is it happening? I don't know. But this is not how you want a new player to learn a game. Because if I win, okay. If I lose, nothing was really gained or lost in terms of knowledge, because I don't know what I'm looking at right now. What does any of this mean? How am I supposed to be learning these characters? And as we know, just playing against AI is not going to do it. I've tried that with games like Soul Calibur, Smash Brothers, and so on, and then got promptly stomped when we went to fight real players. In order for someone to learn how a game works, they need to be treated to what it means to actually play this game and put this all into practice. So once again, here we have another really good example. So I'm using Marisa here, trying to mess and learn some of their combos. And in a second, you're going to see a command pop up. And I think it's like 2 after this one. Also, the game hasn't really explained to me what are good anti-air moves. What should I be doing to enemies' blocks all the time? What if they're jumping all the time? So it's only to press some button plus light. I have no idea whatsoever what that button is. The game has never showed me what that button does. So what I ended up doing is just like start holding buttons down and mashing, and in a second, lo and behold, I learned about auto combos. The fact that I had to figure this out just by random play is a massive failure on the game's part in terms of its onboarding. The tutorial should not have let me leave it without showing me what those buttons do or how to do all that. And it kind of improved my play. I probably would have done better with Ryu if I actually knew how combos work with it. And even just doing the EX moves as well. Still no explanation as a new player. What are EX moves? What's different? Where do I learn this? And if anyone answers you learn by playing against other players, that's incorrect. When we're talking about learning a game from a completely new player's point of view, they are going to abide by whatever tutorial or required onboarding the game teaches them. Anything else you cannot guarantee the player is going to see. So once again, I'm doing cool stuff, but what does this mean to me as a player? I'm pushing buttons as characters doing things, and I guess this is apparently the level 3 combo, which I just realized while I'm watching this footage back, that that's how it all chains together. But when we're trying to learn any game or any genre for the first time, you have to treat everything as an important lesson for the player. Again, I'm pressing buttons, I'm doing attacks. What does this mean? What's a good timing for combos? I don't know. The game never explained that. And like I said, you can't go into this under the assumption the player has learned even the most basic things. I mean, that's why I said a few minutes ago that maybe the game should have an ultra beginner for people who have no idea what a fighting game is. And when we got to the end of our night, I mean, it was enjoyable, but I don't know if I really came away with anything. When I play other games, I can at least take what we've played and adapt and grow going forward. With this, I just push buttons and maybe I win, maybe I lose. Because I don't have any further understanding. I don't know what I could do better, I don't know what I did worse. And for a genre that is so demanding like this, and one that again is built predominantly on players fighting against each other, not having that information is a very easy reason to churn out. And I am not alone in this. If you look at any of the big name fighting games on Steam, you can check the achievement page and just watch the massive churn as someone new tries a game. Maybe they play against AI, maybe they do one rank match, and then they never play the game ever again. And when we're talking about onboarding in this respect, it is such a huge issue for these kinds of games. Because once someone quits, more than likely they're not going to come back. They're not going to know why they won, they're not going to know why they lost. And there is no easy answer for this, so I made it to bronze with Ryu, which I think may be the peak of my ability. So I'm just going to let some of this B-roll play while I continue my thoughts. So, playing through Street Fighter here, what is the style of play for this character? I don't know. If I play a strategy game or I play something like a World of Tanks, I know what a tank's role is. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I just don't understand it here. And this person ends up beating me several times. And, no, I think maybe, no, I'm sorry, it's the other one that does beat me. And with my play here, I kind of understood some of the basics, but I'm not really grasping what else I should be doing. What should I be improving on? You know, what does this character do? What makes them special? So I'm just trying to go in, and at this point, I don't even know what any of these special moves do. I'm just pressing special in a direction and then just trying to make sense out of it all. And that is not how someone learns these kinds of games, or any game. And I know someone will argue, well, you were supposed to just keep playing ranked matches, you're supposed to learn through just the basic play. But if you're coming at something from zero experience, that is not going to work. Their player is not going to be understanding what it is that is happening on the screen right now. And pretty much the only reason why I kind of got halfway with her was because I finally figured out what the auto combo was. And like for this last match, and then we'll kind of go back to the full screen to wrap up this video, I'm playing against a mirror version of my character, of course. I still don't know what I should be trying to focus on. I have a little bit of a better understanding of how some of the moves work, but again, the game has done nothing to educate me on how this character plays, why I should be looking at this, and just having generic, again, like random practice modes or training, that is not the same as having a dedicated onboarding. So I'm going to end up losing in this fight, and I'm sure there's a lot of things I could have done differently, but I don't know what that is. How do I get around the character blocking all the time? How do I get in? Again, the game has done nothing to help me in that respect. And without that information, yeah, I could maybe play this like as a casual thing, maybe among, for our multiplayer nights, but playing this for real just sounds like it's just going to be a waste of my time, because I don't even know where to even begin to start to learn how to begin to understand this game. And it's why, again, genres like fighting, like 4X strategy, have really struggled with growing their fan bases. The people who play Street Fighter 6 every day, they don't have any issue with any of this at all. And they will probably say, well, what's the problem? You're not good enough to play this game, so just quit. But that is not how you grow a genre, and more importantly, it's not how you try to expand out beyond that. Because if all you're doing is courting the super hardcore esports players, that game is not going to have a long shelf life, because they're not going to be supporting this game every single day. Yes, they'll play it, but as we talked about, the more niche a genre or a game is, the harder it is for that genre to keep growing and to earn a profit. And for you watching this, if you are someone brand new who tries Street Fighter, how long did you spend playing it? And did you end up continuing to play it, or did you just end up quitting? And while we could certainly make the point that this genre is not for me, it also is not for a lot of other people, as we can demonstrate with the massive churn rates. But there has to be some way of making this more approachable. And again, it cannot just be modern controls. Changing the control scheme means nothing if the player doesn't understand what any of this means in terms of how to play the game. Like right now, all I'm really doing is just trying to land auto combo and then try to land another auto combo. I have no idea of, what is his character's style. And even if it was in that character guide, not making that more apparent is yet another problem when it comes to onboarding. Because again, you cannot assume the player is going to be diving into multiple menus to try and learn this stuff. So to come back over here, fighting games, strategy games, and other genres, what we've seen in terms of the ones that have managed to thrive and grow is figure out how to at least have like an olive branch for new players. I've talked a lot about why I enjoy some of the more recent strategy games like Mario plus Rabbids, Persona Tactica, games that have been trying to bridge that gap between new and hardcore fans, and trying to make something that's far more appealing. But at the end of the day, your game needs to be able to explain to someone, what does it mean to go beyond just mashing X for 20 minutes? And if they can't figure that out, they're not going to stick around. So here is a final question for you. Did you end up trying Street Fighter 6 as a new player? And if you did, how long did you stay with it? Did you play all the way? Did you play one rank match and quit? And what do you think is the number one thing that needs to be explained to a new player when it comes to a fighting game, or to any genre? Let me know down in the comments. But with all that said, we'll wrap things up here. I'm going to hang up my bronze belt in minor victory, and we'll have more design talks and indie game discussions coming real soon. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.